It's time for the Voice of Reason podcast. Here are your hosts, Sean Phillips, Andy Van Beber, and Travis Kirkendall.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It is Tuesday, September 19th, the great year of 2023. This is the Voice of Reason podcast. My name is Sean Phillips. As always, I'm joined alongside my two co-hosts, Mr. Andy Van Beber, Travis Kirkendall, and we just got back from Beetlejuice in Denver, Colorado, where we saw titties, and it was a grand old time. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Oh, my God. All I gotta say is, if you ain't down with the Bobert, you ain't down with nothing, I guess.
I think she needs to ride this wave and just start the OnlyFans, go in head first, just be like, I'm the suckinest, fuckingest senator, congressman we've got, and I'm here to party.
I'm here. I'm single and ready to mingle.
Hey, she'll have like 90% of the straight male vote just right there alone. Just say a vote for me, you get a free month to my OnlyFans. Chestnut checkers, boys. Chestnut checkers.
Oh my God. Here's the bad thing about it. This is how back behind the news I was. Our good friend Amanda Henderson was the one who clued me in. I hadn't heard a thing about it until today, and she said, "Oh, come on, you've got to be kidding me. You haven't heard that?" She's like, Lauren Boebert was getting filled up in a theater, and geez, it was one of the.
I think the worst part about it is she was getting felt up at the theater, smoking at the theater, getting kicked out of the theater at Beetlejuice the musical, which is one of the shittiest musicals out today. So the fact that I honestly think she tried to get herself kicked out. I'm Team Boebert on this one. She understood it was a dog shit musical, wanted out of there, and did what she could to make it happen.
You left the part out about her blowing the smoke in the face of the pregnant woman too.
Oh my God!
Hey,
I need to watch this video.
That is pro-life. You get the kids hooked on vaping when they're young. That's I like it. I like where this is going. I think she's got. If I ever move to Colorado, she's got my vote.
Well, here was the other thing too. She played the whole "Do you know who I am" card. She played that card on the way out while flipping the bird to the security guard, to the
real
usher.
Classy. That's a public servant, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, right there.
And watch, classy. She'll get reelected too.
Oh yeah, she will, because it's. But to me, that's so. I mean, you have to admit though, this is the same woman who heckled Joe Biden during the. She was one of two. Her and
she was one of them.
Who the crazy woman from Georgia?
Mallory Taylor Greene.
Yeah, Mallory. Yeah, Taylor Greene, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, so I'm just like
Marjorie. Sorry, I always say Mallory.
So well, it doesn't matter. They're both morons anyway. I mean, they're probably both thinking that they're eating babies up at the Capitol building while worshiping Satan or something. So I mean,
and you wouldn't be.
Jeez.
At least I like that we have that amount of crazy in our House of Representatives, because that's the perfect amount of because here's the thing, of all the congressmen and all the senators we have in there, I'm glad that there's one of them that is willing to stand up. What's worse, going to the Mexico's Congress where they're presenting real alien mummified
remains. Yes,
you mean paper shade sculptures,
or having congressmen and women that are willing to stand up to let us know that the adrenochrome that Bill Clinton and Bill Gates suck out of each other is what is ruining this country for middle America.
Oh, that's priceless right there. That's
what what she did. That is Make America Great Again right there. That is what it's all about, folks. Getting finger blasted at a Beetlejuice concert. That is what it's all about.
Oh,
Hey,
man, I
that
needed
You know
that.
what?
Gideon,
I take back what I said. She's got my
Blast.
vote.
Oh my God.
that's actually something that she could ride. I think she
Oh
should try
my
to become
God.
or Trump's
There's a
VP.
good
Like that's
campaign.
the
There's a
perfect
good
way.
campaign slogan there somewhere. I don't know what the wording
Yes.
would be, but there's a good
Yeah.
slogan there.
Vape, you got to bring in vape, the finger bang, and the.
I think no, imagine
Oh
her and
my.
Trump on the same ticket is
Oh
just
my
finger
gosh.
blast him by the pussy. And that
That
is
is
exactly what
freedom.
they have
That
to
is
do.
as free as it gets. Like that is freedom to
America,
its core.
America.
America.
Oh my God, we're not even. Where's my timer? At?
America's
We're not even
America's
6 minutes.
leadership,
We're not
folks.
even 6 minutes into the show, and it's already gone to hell. That's great.
Great
Oh
start.
my
We're on to a great
Well,
God.
start
I mean
here.
that winds up the week that I had
That's
in
it
a
right there.
nutshell, so it works out
That's
all right.
all of it. That's all of it. Oh my gosh! Welcome to episode 20, ladies and gentlemen, of season 3 of Voice of Reason podcast. Yes,
We're on
For
one
the
today.
record books.
I did
record.
actually name this episode "Something Happened on the Way to Common Sense," so that plays right into our.
Well, trust us,
That's a great
if you're
episode title. I
from
love
if you're from our neck of the woods, you know that, obviously things happen at Beetlejuice musicals, they happen on prom buses. There's a lot of things to be said about what middle America is willing to do to one another
they
in
happen at
public spaces.
school like sporting events. I mean, it happens,
I want to tell
Yeah.
you, but this is.
Fingers got to go places. That's what life's all
But
about.
this is. But I mean, really, you're a U.S. Congresswoman. What did you think was going to happen when you went into a public theater? And if you see the video, I mean, it's not, we're not talking like, like a little 100-person theater. I mean, Sean, have you seen the video, Sean? What would
Yes.
you say? At least
Yes.
maybe at
I
least
mean,
500.
those
At least 500, right?
I would say that was just the base, like because Beetlejuice is it's on its Broadway tour right now, its international tour. So that theater probably holds over 1,000 people. I mean,
So
where they
this
were at
wasn't,
this was not in like a small little
This wasn't a
comfy
small
cozy
venue.
spot. Yeah, and they were in the aisle seat. So they're like, there's people around them to their left, their right. They were not in like a box. They weren't in like in an Abe Lincoln box where real head could have getting blown off. You know what I'm saying? But
exactly.
yeah,
This
like,
wasn't like it was a. And then she has the cojones to say, "Do you know who I am?" Yes. The question should be, "Do you know who you are?"
I think she wanted to
God.
get caught.
Why? Oh,
It's a kink, man. It's a kink.
Oh, 2 comments already. Reminds me of people in high school vaping movie theaters and magical moments. Yes, and then my buddy
Reliving their glory years.
Jonathan Guthrie said, "Just started watching and all I hear is finger blasting." Yep.
We're off to a great start.
We're
what
off,
can I say?
Yep, we're off to a great start. Fantastic. No, it's I really don't get. I mean, between our show last week, by the way, boys, you're hearing this for the first time, over 1,500, and I just posted. I was a little late in posting the TikTok videos. I posted yesterday, over 1,500 views since yesterday. So thanks to all the folks who share and everything on TikTok. Got a lot of views on our AI and our top 20 list of aging congressmen. And that was quite popular, but I'm sure that I can get a good. We've just gotten a.
There's some good clip material
right there
to start with.
at the start. I don't have to go deep into it. That's what she said, but then anyway. So, I guess we could go into your. I see our beautiful young lady there. How is she doing? How much does she weigh?
Well, she just shit about 3 pounds of it out. So whatever, whatever minus 3 pounds. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
she's probably at 9 to 10 right now, growing like a weed. She's got the hiccups right now, so she's pretty full on mom.
You know what? I'm glad to see
milk.
that she does not have the saggy lip. That's one thing I'm glad to see that she does not have is the saggy lip.
Well, disabilities aren't always genetic, and so I didn't pass that one along.
Thank God she's got your fiance's looks. That's good. But no, we hey, I forgot to mention last week. We the week before we weren't here because I had the pleasure of going to see Eric Clapton live, and that was entertaining. Now that the partaking of marijuana is legal in the state of Missouri, I had to explain to my son how the skunk got into the Enterprise Center, and and more than once. And we're like inner seats, and we're in nosebleeds. We're up in the 300s, right? And there's still but he's like,
Oh yeah, there's no getting away from that smell.
and then he's like, Dad, what is that smell? I was like, son, that's pot. And he goes, man, that stinks. I was like, but there was, Eric Clapton is 71. Eric Clapton is 71 years old, and I mean, I was somewhere, but I'm safe for me to say, no exaggeration on this one. I only saw one other kid that was even close to Bryson's age. I maybe saw a handful of teenagers. The rest were just middle-aged guys like myself and geriatrics, and it was. But I mean, Clapton put on a solid show, solid, and he only did five. He did 5 shows in North America in 2 weeks, and that was it. That's all he did was 5 shows in 2 weeks in North America, and then that's all he's dealing with some kind of arthritis issue, and he's not in good health. But he did an hour and 45 minute set, which was fantastic. We had a great time. So,
That's amazing.
yep. So anyway,
Yeah, that's how I felt about when I saw Barry Manilow in concert. I was by far the youngest person there in the crowd.
you would be. You would be.
By about 30 years.
How long ago was that?
I've seen him twice now. I saw him in Vegas in October of last year. Or it was October, November, December, around that time frame, and then I saw him in like 2016 or something like that. Amazing performer, amazing.
Yeah. Well, so like I said, tonight's topic is something happened on the way to common sense. We've got a variety of things that we want to look at tonight. What we kind of touched on a little bit last week about the impending government shutdown. Some articles that we shared amongst each other this week. This is a showdown of showdowns right now, boys. I think that what's that far right Republican group called? Was it the Freedom Alliance?
Yeah, something like
So
that.
you've got your Matt Getz and Marjorie Taylor Greens in that group, and they are wanting a government shutdown to advance. I mean, to basically advance their agenda to get this out in the public. Speaker McCarthy has, to me, he has from what I've read, he's got barely enough support to push this spending bill through.
Yeah.
And you were just saying a while ago that this spending bill there's a lot of nice little hidden gems in this thing, especially in the realm of defense. And
I mean, it's the defense bill, but I mean, and when I was reading to you guys before we started this show, this is from the Senate committee appropriation. So I mean, this was a bill summary of everything that was in the defense bill that we discussed, but it's pretty interesting, to say the least. But can you speak more on what they're doing, and can you talk about, because I was reading that McCarthy could potentially lose his spot as the speaker with this. Can you touch on that? Because I was a little confused on that.
So here is what we're seeing, and this has been a reoccurring theme over and over and over and over and over again, is McCarthy. I forgot how many votes it was for him to. How many votes? It was like 3 days to.
I just had it pulled up.
It was 3 days. I know it was 3 days worth of voting and people getting on to Matt Getz, and then getting on to that clown from New York, and then all the guy who's the.
Okay. Lawmakers voted 212 to 214 to begin consideration of the $826 billion spending bill, falling short of the majority vote needed. But what's the majority vote needed for that? Is it 2/3?
Yeah, yes. For any kind of appropriation, but it cannot be a simple majority. It has to be. I believe it has to be It's either 2/3 or it's 3/4. No, not 3/4. It's a weird. It's. I think I'm pretty sure it's 2/3.
Because if we're 212 to 214, we're a long way off of
Oh
that.
yeah, and the Republicans have more. I mean, if you get all the Republicans on board with this, you'd have more than enough. But you have the far right now that are at that spot where McCarthy cannot play hardball. He cannot, because if he does, then it doesn't take anything for a vote of no confidence to come up. And if they do a vote of no confidence, I mean, that's the end of it. But I also don't think, though, at the same time, I also don't think that the Republicans are going to shoot themselves that hard in the foot this close to the election, because there's really not, when you think about it, I don't really think, unless you guys can think of anybody else, I don't really think there's another real Republican front runner who stands out to me as the quote unquote leader of the House or the leader of the Republican Party, who really stands out. But to me, McCarthy has about as much authority as a kindergarten teacher at recess. There's not there's no to me there's no
He
he doesn't.
definitely, it definitely seems like his hands are tied. It
Oh
seems like
yeah.
it's been that way since he's been the Speaker of the House. I mean, even trying to get the spot, I mean, we knew like he barely got that position.
After three. So to me, if you don't have the power to push this through, what does he have to bargain with? He doesn't have anything to bargain with. He can't go to Joe Biden and say, "Look, if you don't play by our rules or you do this, then we're going to do that." He doesn't have that kind of bargaining power right now because he doesn't have the full support of the Republican Party. He's never had the full support of the Republican Party. And this is bad right now because what are we? We're getting, if you guys think about it, we're almost a year away from the election. And if that doesn't scare if that doesn't scare you, I mean, the fact that we're that close to the election and all this garbage is going on, and which, by the way, and here's another thing too, Donald Trump is strangely silent on all of this. Strangely silent. I mean,
Yeah, I haven't seen any headlines from him.
no,
I haven't
he
seen
hasn't
anything trending from
ever
him.
ever since. I mean, he's made some appearances here and there, but he's not making. He's I mean, he said, about the whole Ukraine Russia thing. He's been on record saying that I could end this in 2 days. I could get it done in 2 days. And but he hasn't said anything about the budget. He hasn't been saying anything about Speaker McCarthy. He hasn't been saying. I mean, it's been like,
No, I just Googled and everything trending with Trump right now has to do with something he commented on abortion. But that's it. Nothing to do with this spending bill or anything like that.
I really do think that. And I don't know, is he set to that next? So the next debate that is on. Oh, one of our listeners said Trump is on the auto worker strike, that's another thing that we're going to discuss a little bit here in a little bit. But I do think wisely that Trump is picking his battles on this because he already has his. I think he already has his base. But this next, I'm trying to when the next. When the
The
next
next primary is,
no the
or
next
debate, I should
next
say.
debate. Well, I'm bringing that up right now. But what do you guys think when you see this whole debacle going down in D.C.? What's your guys' take on this?
I mean, from what I've read and seen, I mean, there's real talk that this could be that it's going to go to shutdown, and there's even some people saying this could be longer than the 35-day shutdown we had back in 2018-19. Just because of how divided the government is right now. And look, from what I've seen, I read into this bill, and it seems like I didn't see the specifics, but it seemed like this conservative group with Matt Gaetz and all them. Again,
What's
I
the
didn't read specifics, but what I gathered was they wanted obviously less spending, and they wanted some federal agencies to be completely shut down. I couldn't figure out which ones those were, but it just seemed like what they were wanting was unrealistic and like obviously wasn't going to get approved. And there seems to be no compromise from their side either. So again, this is an issue we've talked about with government before. There's an issue with compromise. For whatever reason, neither side wants to compromise. It's either my side or it's either your side. And from what I've read, I'll give McCarthy some credit. He is trying. Like he's really trying to get some compromise going with Biden and also with these
Oh,
Republicans who
yeah,
are being defiant right now.
right. He's fighting both
And of
sides.
course, I mean, obviously he doesn't want a government shutdown. I mean, it looks bad on him because he couldn't reach a deal, right?
Right.
Um, but I don't know. It's the same issue we've always talked about, and now we're seeing a shutdown, which to me, the idea of a government shutdown is just absolutely ridiculous that they can just shut down if they don't get something worked out. I mean, let me tell you, how would that work in a real job? If like, oh, we got to shut the company down until we get stuff figured out. Like, what?
You where
Like,
the you know and
the
where the
company would go under, or like everyone would quit, or like, it wouldn't, or you'd lose your job if you were the one responsible for it, And then here we are. It sounds like this is going to be a legit shutdown, and what that does and what the effects of that, God only knows.
For the record, the next debate is on September the 27th at Simi Valley, California, at the Ronald Reagan
My
Presidential
birthday.
Library. The people who qualify to debate,
I love that word.
the who are qualified, South
Yeah.
Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, Mike Pence, Ron DeSantis, Tim Scott, and Donald Trump. However, Donald Trump is planning on uh,
Is he going to skip that one too?
Trump will skip the second Republican primary debate to deliver a competing address the same night in Detroit. His campaign
Oh, like he
confirmed
did before.
yesterday. So that's again that's going to
I
be
heard a pretty interesting take, and let me ask you guys really quick. Uh, I heard a take that like these Republican primaries, it's not about who's going to be president. It's like who's going to be Trump's vice president is what that's all about. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's kind of what it's looking like?
Sean. Go ahead. I'll let you have that one.
No, I actually really like that. Because you're not wrong. Um, when we discussed this, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and even, kind of you just up until a couple of months ago, where we had kind of talked about how I didn't think that it didn't really seem like Trump was going to get the Republican nom. But now, at least for me, it seems more and more like signs are pointing that way. Like that's kind of actually the route that's going to take place. And I honestly just think it's because people have kind of realized that DeSantis is kind of a weirdo. Like it really did kind of seem like he was the front runner, but now the more and more that
He's
I see people outside of his state kind of talk, it really actually seems like it has swayed more in Trump's favor, at least from the outside looking in. That's what I see. But again, it's still really interesting because, that does put, Republicans in a tough spot where, um, how are they going to handle this, this court case when it comes time? And, what do they do if he is found guilty? It creates a very interesting season of, the upcoming season of
who
this goddamn television show of reality that is the United States presidential
well
candidate race.
I honestly I kind of I'll play devil's advocate for a little bit, but I do see that too, Sean. I think that the if this goes through this whatever all these what do you want to call it, all these charges against him, the first one set to begin, the first trial I believe is set to begin in December, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's the one down in Atlanta is the first one that's set to take place in December, and it couldn't have come. I mean, I think it couldn't come at a worse time, but I also think that this is being done on purpose. Now, I also want to know who the hand is behind the curtain, who's pushing all this and setting this time frame and setting the agenda. Because are the Republicans are they sitting back and are they like you said, Travis, is it going to be a contest to see who's going to be Trump's vice president, or is it who's up next? Because if all these are all these charges, any one of these charges gets serious court time, and Trump does get, let's just say, just for a second, this is my devil's that let's just say for a second that Trump gets, and I don't think this is going to happen, but let's just say on the off chance that Trump is just convicted on any of these charges, that he's going to appeal. He's going to appeal, and you want to talk about a clusterfudge for election. Then you're going to have Trump in the middle of an appeal. Probably, if you have a trial starts in December and goes, at worst case scenario, it goes until next May. Okay, conventions in August, Republican National Conventions in August. In the meantime, you're having all of these primaries. Trump's in the middle of an appeal, and you get to the convention, and appeals take forever, and you're at the convention with a guy who's either been if he's convicted or if he's still, indicted on whatever these 70 charges are. I mean, and the Democrats are going to have a field day with it anyway. So, do you want an indicted president? Do you want this guy? Or are you going to have the Republicans doing all this infighting with themselves? Do you want this guy to be who's indicted and look at all the stuff he did on January the 6th? I mean, I'm with you, Sean. It's going to be it's just going to be a mess. I mean, God knows where we're going to be at this time next year. I'm afraid to see where we're going to be at next year.
I seriously can't wait until it is Biden and Trump back on the debate stage again, because it's just going to be it's going to be back and forth. What about Hunter's laptop? Tell me about Hunter's laptop.
But Biden technically doesn't have to do any debates, right?
I don't.
There's no way they put him on the stage again.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
There's no way they put that guy on. I mean, granted, he did just speak the UN. I mean, he did do that.
You're going to have Trump, what about Hunter's laptop? And then Biden's going to say, I was there on 9/11. My son
Bo died
as it crashed on 9/11.
I mean, you can,
warlock.
There was what was it last? Was it this last weekend?
Yeah, he pulled that.
Biden's granddaughter or something had to help him into the. Oh shoot! Where did I see that at? It was. I mean, the man, he's not well, and if you're one of his handlers, you want. I mean, you're going to handpick. Think about that debate. Who are you? You're not going to give that to Fox. They're not going to let those guys. No. They're going to get the most inept. They want to get probably the most kindest inept person that I mean, who knows, some Joe Blow from NPR or something like that who will coddle them, and at the same time try to keep a leash on Donald Trump, and it's just going to be.
I still wish they would take Joe Rogan's offer up and just have them both on the podcast.
Oh, that'd be great. Rogan wouldn't take any shit either. Rogan would shut them down if they try to pull. He'd probably kill them.
Both of them. He'd be like, he would sit there with Trump and be like, "You are as goddamn stupid as everybody like keeps saying that you are." And then fucking Joe. It's
Joe.
That'd be amazing.
Joe?
I would love to see that.
Joe.
Yeah, he's not watching this. We're not that cool.
No, I'm just saying that's Joe Biden saying to Joe Rogan, "Hey, wake up! Hey."
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh, for real, yeah.
Oh, but no.
Maybe he would treat it like it's protect our parks, and he starts passing around shrooms and pot to all of them, and they just get really high before the debate, and
no,
Biden be on a different planet. But
I think that's right now. I mean, and to kind of ride the coattails of what we were talking about last week too, Travis. I'm also going to see I'm curious to see what Mitt Romney did last week. I'm curious to see how many of those other ancient guys are going to follow suit too. and see if there are going to be a number of other Republicans and Democrats who are going to follow his lead and say, yeah, I'm in my 80s. I need to step down and kind of step away from this. I would like to see. I would really like to see a lot of enter in some new blood, but enter in some blood that has more common sense than your Matt Getzes and your Marjorie Taylor Greens and your Lauren Boeberts and all those. It I don't know, but
I'm curious. It seems to be a theme, and you know, Romney made that decision of like, the younger generation or whatever needs to step up. From what I'm seeing from the younger generation, though, like your AOCs, your Matt Getz, your younger left and right politicians, they seem to be even further apart from each other, and
That's
that's
exactly what
concerning.
that's exactly what I was going to add on there, Travis, was I feel like as hold on. Let you guys keep taking it.
Yeah, that's just something I've observed, and I'm curious if this future generation of politicians, as they call it, eventually that we start seeing more and more of them in these positions. I mean, what is that going to do to the government relationship? I mean, we're divided now. We're about to have a government shutdown.
well,
I
and
mean,
you bring
God,
the younger where we what we're seeing from both.
those damn millennials.
Well, exactly. I'm not.
I'm
I don't
just-
want to say it like that, but at the same time, what you're seeing, there's not a the middle ground is quickly disappearing. The middle ground. Where you and Sean stand at, and I mean I respect you guys and I love you guys like brothers, but where you guys stand at is there there are not that many people of your generation who stand in that place who use the idea of common sense, and there are more people who are starting this younger generation who are starting to drift to one side or the other, and it's
100%. Yeah.
when I mean your AOCs, who are going far over here to the right, and you have, like you said, and Matt Getz isn't an old guy either. Matt Getz, I believe, is in his 30s as well. So there's
I
not,
believe so.
and it's not like these are guys who are going to be around on the political circuit for a while.
41.
He's 41. You've got the one lady from Minnesota, the Islamic lady. I can never remember her name, but these are not old. These are going to be guys. This is your next generation of politicians who are quote unquote leading the charge and who are going to be. I mean, instead of growing farther apart, I mean this is the new identity of Congress, and this is the new identity of America, is that we don't have anything we don't have a consensus anymore. There's no longer a consensus. I could say honestly, when I first started teaching, I could say that we had a consensus on the basic issues. When I said, okay, where do we need to be on defense? Where do we need to be at on American priorities? How do we take care? What should we take care of the poor? We take care of the elderly. We take care. But even on those basic issues, I believe that there's no longer a consensus on that, because even on those basic issues, people have went so far in the different direction, and it's that whole mentality of I'm right, you're wrong, I'm smart, you're stupid, and I'm not going to and the word forget the word compromise, because people are too busy listening to the quote unquote talking heads. You know, I was listening to this guy on this the Daily Wire now is making more of a name, and it's not just it's not just Ben Shapiro anymore. You got this guy Matt Walsh, who is he's kind of the new face of Daily Wire, and and you've just got all these new different talking heads. Tucker Carlson, we thought he was going to go away. Now he's over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. He's doing his thing. And for people just to do a simple Google search, we're at that point where we want to be told. We don't want the idea to be given.
And that's what Ben Shapiro markets off of. Oh, I've done the research. Listen to me. And the guy spits out some BS. If you actually Google some of this just again do your. I'm not even going to go on that spiel. Just do your own research. But
Right.
it's a lot of these people though. Like we want to be told what to believe, and if you just do quick Google searches, that's all you need to
If
do. Like,
if
it's literally like this spending bill that we were kind of getting into. I literally just did a Google search to see where the money was going. Bam, found it. One Google search, one click. I found the summary on the government website. Like instead, people want to go listen to Ben Shapiro talk about we need to cut back on whatever his take is on it, and that's the fact.
And did you
No, he's
know
just giving
that
his take on it.
the government spending wants to give transgenders their own penises? That's what our government wants to do. They want to give women who are not biologically men, by the way,
that's a
want to give them penises. That's what our government wants to do. That is what Democrats are voting for. And you know what?
I'm sorry, V. I know you're a Ben Shapiro fan. I can't
I'm
stand the guy.
no,
I
I'm
cannot
not.
stand his platform. I can't stand those. It's just.
I think it's his fucking robot AI voice that
I
he
don't
like.
even mind that.
But again,
It's just.
but you're right. He does like again. He that's what he profits off of is like he profits off of finding very very skewed statistics and then preaching them that is the actual
Well,
like true fact.
I look on the other side though too. There,
Oh, for sure,
I
for
like
sure.
Ben Shapiro. I like some of it. I don't. I'm not 100%. But then you have the Stephen Colbert's, the Jimmy Kimmel.
Exactly. Yep.
Stephen Colbert is rapidly becoming. And who was the guy? Trevor Noah. Is that the other one? Is he the one that's on?
Sounds
Trevor
familiar.
Trevor Noah is the fucking worst, absolute worst human
So
being
Trevor
when it
Noah,
comes to
to me,
political commentary.
Trevor Noah is trying to be the new voice of the left. Stephen Colbert is trying to be the new voice of the left, and to me, they are just annoying on the left as Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh are on the right. You've got these talking heads, the
Hmm.
people, and this is their go-to. Trevor Noah, and I'm with Sean. Trevor Noah is this guy on the left who he spews all this stuff forward, and it's like he has his head halfway up his butt, and he's trying to formulate a sentence. He gets it out there so he can hear himself talk. The guy who used to be on the guy who used to be on the far left is that guy. I just brain farted on HBO. Oh my,
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher. Bill Maher used to be the guy who was on the far left. Now Bill Maher, and I mean this is from my generation. I mean he was a comedian before he became a talk show guy. Bill Maher,
Hmm.
who used to be on the far left side of the spectrum, is now he comes across as a moderate. I mean the liberals are calling this guy a moderate, and Bill Maher's like and he did a thing with he called it he did this talk. It was last year. He's like it was called the problem with liberals today. Is like you want to know why liberals can't get their agenda across is because they're and you could have said the same thing about the right is the far right guys is because they refuse to have any room for any wiggle room for compromise. Like you said earlier, there's no wiggle room for compromise, and it's got to be their own way. It's just call it being millennial, call it being a different generation. I don't know, but I don't know. I've had my fill. Let's just put it this way: I've had my fill. This is I came home today, and I've just maybe it's just the pissiness coming out of me now at the end of the day, but it's just like I've had my fill of ignorant people. The world to me, especially those who are running the show, are filled with ignorant people who think that they've got the world hoodwinked. They've got the Washington D.C. politicians who think that we've got them hoodwinked. If we just tell them what they need to hear, what they want to hear, then they're going to follow us, and we're going to fix things and make things right. Pardon my French, but what a crock of shit. That to me,
Hmm.
it angers me so much that we won't do the research, that we won't go out and we can find somebody. I still believe in my heart of hearts that there is somebody who is out there. There is someone who has common sense and a personality that can appeal to people on both sides. There is another guy out there who can bring, there's another John F. Kennedy, there's another Ronald Reagan, there's another, You know, I mean,
even RFK, a
or
lot of his stuff. I mean,
but
he's
they're pushing
been
it. But
fairly reasonable
yeah,
with what he's
RFK is a guy.
promoting.
RFK is a guy who, to me, would be a guy you could sit down and talk to. Heck,
I
even
mean, he's been on podcasts. He's talked to people.
he's
Like no,
and it's not
no,
just been
non-scripted, just 3-hour conversations about
he's been on right leaning
everything.
podcasts. He's been on left leaning
Hmm.
podcasts. He's been on these. I mean, he's trying his hardest. And now the Democrats are trying to put in these new. I forgot. I've seen. I was
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah,
these new rules. So with the super, the Democrats have this
we
whole
need to
thing.
do an episode on that. We
The,
need to do a whole
the
episode on
super
that.
delegates of the Democrats and the Republicans do their primary, do their convention totally different from each other, totally different. And I have to do more before I speak without knowing. I'm not going to say too much
We're going to
about.
do an episode on this.
But the Democrats, from what I saw, RFK had a campaign ad that was on Facebook. He bought Facebook space, and he just said, "Look, this is what's happening in your Democratic Party right now. They're trying to do this, this, and this to keep me quiet and to keep me out of the way." And I, like I said, we'll do more research and we'll bring that up next. We can look at that and get into that next week sometime or in the future. But they are trying to me, do the most undemocratic thing that you can do as far as allowing someone to have
Yeah, you want to talk like meddling with the elections and election fraud. That is something that's a legit concern, and that's something, yeah, we need to do an episode on
yeah,
that
yeah, but
topic for sure.
but
But to go into the spending bill, because we got about
yeah,
10, 15
we're
minutes
good.
left.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll kind of break it down. So the issue is with the defense bill, and the funding that's supposed to be allocated towards it. Obviously, the Republicans want less money, Democrats want more money. And the bill I think this is the one that's on the table that McCarthy's trying to get approved. The fiscal year 2024 Defense Appropriations Act provides, and then I'm breaking down what this is, 831.781 billion in total funding, right? And before we weren't even planning on talking about this, but I was like, I'm curious what's in this bill because I was like, there's money for Ukraine in there. And it turns out uh,
Mhm.
there's nothing even mentioned of Ukraine in this. And if you look at what Biden's recent comments were at the UN summit about China, and then some other news that I didn't realize until I read this, and it kind of connects. I'll bring it up to you guys. But to kind of break down this funding, and you guys, as I'm saying, you can figure out what direction we're going here.
Mhm.
Global readiness and deterrence, 534 million above the president's budget request to improve U.S. Indo-PACOM's deterrence, including 360 million for U.S. Indo-PACOM's campaigning activities with allies and partners. For those who don't know, Indo-PACOM is your Indonesia Pacific campaign areas. So that's your China's, your North Korea's, Vietnam's, that whole area of influence that they're discussing here. So they're raising money for that. 58 million to Army preposition stocks, 500 million to Pacific Theater Joint Training Exercises, show of force exercises, training for combat events in the Pacific. That goes into that. There's some defense communities here, 451 million. What was the other one? Military Munitions Response Program. There was another big one. 532 million for additional 53 Abrams tanks to maintain the production line. There's some upgrades to the Air Force here, 497 million to engine upgrades on F-35s, weapons, 1.4 billion. That's going to get divided to National Guard and reserves alone. There was another big one. The Navy shipbuilding, I can get into that because I know something about that specifically. 33.3 billion to build new ships for our Navy. And this was a big one here. It goes back to what I was speaking on the China thing. The bill includes, and it specifically lists China here. The bill includes 293.5 million more than the president's budget request for radars, radar upgrades, communications equipment to protect the U.S. homeland from surveillance efforts by adversaries like the Chinese government, to make overdue improvements to NORTHCOM. NORTHCOM is North America, Canada, and Mexico.
Mhm.
So our homeland security, essentially. We're seeing a lot and there's another one, infrastructure, shipyard infrastructure optimization program. Really quick before I forget about this shipbuilding thing, I know this is legit because there's a company in Sturgeon Bay, I was looking at a job at. They just got a contract. They build naval ships, and they just got a 500 something million dollar
God,
contract to build more naval frigates.
jeez. Oh my
I
God.
think like four more ships. It's a pretty big project. They have like a bunch of jobs they're hiring for up there. Anyway,
I do. I
so
do.
that's a legit thing.
I want to bring this. I highlighted this quote, and I wanted to save that for when you got to this point. So this was yesterday. For those of you who didn't see yesterday, Joe Biden was spoke at the UN.
Hmm.
And so one of the things that he said, when it comes to China, I want to be clear and consistent. We seek to responsibly manage the competition between our countries so it does not tip into conflict. I have said we are for de-risking, not decoupling with China. To me, his words say one thing, but this action seems another. We are at we what's the word I want to use? So there was a term that was used in the 60s, 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. It was called brinkmanship. Okay, the term brinkmanship was during the Cold War was a term that we used basically how can we one up the other guy and still be at the brink of war? Okay? To me, in my own personal opinion as a historian, as a history teacher, we are slowly edging back to this point of where we can try. I think, and Travis, you tell me. I want your opinion, Sean, yours too. We are at this. We are at the brink. Okay. 2 weeks ago, you have North Korea visiting the Cosmodrome or whatever it was out there in eastern Russia.
They
You
met
have
with Putin. Yeah.
Yeah, you have North Korea visiting with Putin. You have Kim Jong Un. You have, and then at the same time, Kim Jong Un's launching stuff over into the Sea of Japan. Okay, and doing that kind of business. And then now you have China, who's shoring up all of they're trying to get their house in order financially, militarily, alliance wise. They're seeking out new alliances and they're making financial deals. I mean, are is this? I mean, are we we're trying to see who has the biggest set of nuts at the table? I mean, is that what this is or what?
Well, I mean, again, we talked about this too. There's a lot of fear mongering with this too, right? Because I mean, I just again, quick Google searches, a lot of like doomsday articles right now being written, like Fox News. This was 15 hours ago. Nuclear exchange with China is much closer than Americans think, expert warns. Preparing to go to war. And this is one I just read. This is actually pretty wild. Um, again, um, oh, here we go. This was from the Telegraph. And Uh, Frank Keldon, I'm sorry, Frank Kendall, Joe Biden's Secretary of the Air Force, said last week that intelligence couldn't be clear. Whatever its actual intentions may be, I could not say. But China is preparing for a war and specifically for a war with the United States. So you
Well,
see these headlines coming out. You see Joe Biden's stance when he or what he said at the UN summit. And before, I mean, he's said stuff before. I mean, he's called Xi dictator. I mean, there's been name calling and there's been little shades thrown at each other for a while now, right?
mm-hmm,
They've had their meetings before. We talked about the one meeting that in Alaska they had that apparently went terrible.
mm-hmm.
And then we see stuff that intelligence are reporting that, I mean, I've even when I was in the military, I've heard about this. China's been preparing for something for a long time. I mean, they've been building their military force for a long time now. That's no secret. That is not hidden information.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Well,
you see the spending bill and just see where all of the money is going, specifically to PATCOM and Indo, that area. There's a reason all that money's going there. We're preparing for something.
well,
And whether it's just maybe it's just, just in case funding. I mean, by all means, but it is concerning when you see where the money's going. You see what the headlines are reading. You hear what the leaders are saying.
One of our listeners,
And
said, "Dang, cost a lot to protect us from those Chinese spy balloons." And we've conveniently forgot about that. I mean,
oh, of course,
the
yeah.
Chinese. I mean, and those are the ones that we caught. Who knows how much. I mean, if
Remember
you,
all the and remember all the UFO stuff that was going on with that too? It just like disappeared.
yeah, yeah,
It's more reasons I start to think that the whole UFO thing's a psyop. But anyway, a whole different discussion.
yeah.
But
Look over
this
here. Look
specifically
over
with
here.
China, it's I don't know. I was kind of shocked when I read that when I actually read into the bill proposition and saw like the where the money's going and like what it's specifically for. It tells you like what the training's for and like I know what the training means. It's a show of force.
Mm-hmm.
It's a show of force. When you do a joint training exercise with an ally nation, let's say Japan, when we do joint exercises with Japan, it is a show of force to our adversaries of what we are capable to do if they do anything. It's 100%. It's a game. It's a
Was that you?
and
Was that you, or was that Sean, who was a part of those? In those, I don't want to call it war games, but those exercises in Poland. Was that you, or was that Sean?
Sean did that. Sean did it with Poland, and I mean I mean it, everyone does it. I mean we've done show of force like that one time when we did the jump into the Arctic Circle. That was a show of force to Russia to show them that we were capable of doing operations in the Arctic. It was completely just to flex on them. It was to show our capabilities and show, hey, do not mess with us. We have better capabilities than you. The military does that kind of stuff all the time. The Marines do uh, mock island invasions all the time for their training. One, it's to obviously keep them proficient in what they do. It's their job. But two,
Mm-hmm.
we use that stuff as a show of force especially when we do it with ally nations. So to see all the money that's going into the training and stuff, and then again,
And then you
the
see, and then
comments
you bring this, and then you
and
bring this budget thing up. That's another thing that just, to me, it's a cause for it is a cause
and
for concern.
I think obviously Americans want us to be safe, right? We want to have money invested in our military. We want to have a good military. We want a
Mm-hmm.
good border, homeland security, all that stuff. I don't think anyone with the right mind wants a war with China.
No, no.
I do not want a war with China. I don't want a war with Russia. You're talking World War III. It's even if it was just us and them, that is a disaster. Like you don't want it. There's a diplomatic solution to this, and it just seems like diplomatic solution is like on it's I don't know, it just seems like it's
Well, it's just at this
not as
point,
prioritized as it should be,
right?
you know?
Because I mean, right now, cooler heads aren't prevailing right now, is because everybody, like I
No.
said, everybody wants to see who has the biggest set of genitalia at the table to flash. I mean, when you look around at these world leaders, and you look at Vladimir Putin has to continue to show strength. Xi has to keep on showing strength because, I mean, if you show any sign of weakness within the Chinese Communist Party, I mean, they'll remove you in a heartbeat. And then Kim Jong Un, and people don't know, you want to, that is the coolest head in that room. That is the coolest head in that room because if Kim Jong Un's sister is the next in line, that woman is a freak. That woman is crazy. When
I've
you,
heard.
she makes Kim Jong Un look minor league compared to what he's doing. So in this world of, we do like to talk. I mean, geopolitics is one of our wheelhouse.
It's something we've gotten more into because I think we're seeing more stuff come out of it. And especially when you're reading some of the bills, like this one specifically, it's something that has to be discussed because it seems like that's geopolitics seem to be missing in like the conversations with like politicians on your mainstream sources. But besides like your
And
typical, oh, we need to support Ukraine. Like there's no real conversation going into this kind of stuff, I feel like. And
yeah, and
I think that's concerning and
well,
it's something it's a big deal. It
and
is a big issue.
we are so. I think that we're so easily distracted.
Oh, big
We're so
time.
easily distracted by so many. Like if I did, I was trying to get this to come up on my. So I get notification. I get notifications from my different news sources, and so Fox, like some of the stuff that classifies as news, quote unquote, on Fox, it's like I look at these and it's like, okay, so here are my. Let me just. Okay, here. This is news. This is a Fox News headline from 2:03 p.m. Vanna White's Wheel of Fortune future decided. Expert declares the most dangerous woman in the world. Award-winning star dead at 43. You click on who's the award-winning star, and it's somebody who was like you've never heard of before. Champion boxer's husband dead at. I mean, this isn't news. This is filler. This is filler. That you can't anything that you see that even somewhat resembles real news. Okay, we can't. Here's the little, like the little, monkey playing the cymbals, and here, let's watch this,
Epstein.
Yeah.
Epstein.
Yeah. whatever, Oh, don't even get me started, because I watched a document. I watched an Epstein documentary this weekend, and
oh no,
dang me if I did, but I watched it. Oh my God, there's so many. You want to talk about so many skeletons that man kept hidden in the closet, other people's skeletons that he kept hidden in his closet. I was like, this has to get out. Why isn't this going to somebody, please? And I was like, Janine's like, what? I'm like, just freaking Epstein. She's like, just let it go. Mm-hmm. Let it go. They're not going to, none of those people are ever going to. I was like, whatever.
No.
Oh, anyway.
Well, we're just gonna let that slide.
Yeah.
But hey, pay your taxes. Don't evade taxes.
Pay
folks.
your taxes. Pay for your prison.
We'll send you to jail.
Pay and pray for your prison guards who watch high profile prisoners, because you never know when you're going to come up literally at the end of your rope. With that being said,
Ukraine, send money.
Yep. Looks like we lost our fearless leader. He probably had baby issues.
Yeah, he had to jump off.
Yeah, but we understand, and we've always given him that grace to be able to do that. But anyway, man, what a great night. Thank you for all the chat that we had tonight. A lot of chat, a lot of folks who joined in tonight. We are so happy about that. Please continue to share with us on TikTok, on YouTube, on we're on everything. We're on everything. Share us, like us, please subscribe. Yeah, great show tonight. Thank you guys for taking part. We'll see you next week on The Voice of Reason. For Travis Kirkendall and Sean Phillips, I'm Andy Van Beber, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Voice of Reason podcast. Be sure to check out our other content on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.